Hello and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Gargi Rawat. The high voltage campaign for the May 10th Assembly elections in Karnataka ends on Monday, and all three major political parties, the BJP, Congress and JDS, are busy making their last pitch to woo the voters. Now today was a blockbuster Sunday. In fact, it's been a blockbuster weekend. Big names on the campaign trail. The Prime Minister has been in the state for the last 3 days. He's been holding roadshows and rallies. And in such a closely fought election, will the Prime Minister's mega campaign give the BJP the tailwind it needs to push it ahead in this election? The Congress has also had an energetic campaign. It's been attacking the state government consistently over corruption allegations, calling it the 40% government. But has the proposal to ban the Bajrang Dal backfired badly for the Congress? Today you had Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi on the campaign trail. On Saturday, Sonia Gandhi hit the campaign trail. Surprisingly, for the first time, she campaigned in the state. But the question today on the show is, will the Prime Minister's final blitzkrieg help tip the scales for the BJP? That's what we're discussing today. Now, before we start the discussion, the Prime Minister today also hit out at Sonia Gandhi after her speech on Saturday, where she said that the sovereignty and integrity of Karnataka must be protected. Now, the Prime Minister, during his rally today, he indicated this was a secessionist statement, and he said that the Gandhi family wants to part Karnataka from India.
आज हालात ये हैं कि ये खुलेआम धमकी देते हैं, कहते हैं कि अगर ये जीत नहीं होते तो कर्नाटका को मोदी जी का आशीर्वाद नहीं मिलेगा। कहते हैं कि भाजपा हार गई तो यहाँ बहुत झगड़ा हो जाएंगे। मैं आपकी तरफ से इनसे कहना चाहती हूँ कि कर्नाटका के लोगों को इतना बेबस और लाचार मत समझे। कर्नाटक के लोग किसी के आशीर्वाद पर नहीं, अपनी मेहनत और संकल्प पर भरोसा करते हैं। कर्नाटक के लोग डरपोक नहीं।
इस चुनाव में अब कांग्रेस के शाही परिवार ने कल कर्नाटका में आकर के बोला है, उन्होंने कहा है कि कर्नाटका की सॉवरेनिटी की रक्षा करना चाहते हैं। कर्नाटका की सॉवरेनिटी यानी कि कर्नाटका की संप्रभुता, क्या आपको पता है कि इसका अर्थ क्या होता है? इतने सालों से पार्लियामेंट में बैठे हैं, भारत के संविधान का शपथ लिया है और ये बात बोलते हैं। जब कोई देश, सुनिए दोस्तों, जब कोई देश आजाद हो जाता है तो उस देश को संप्रभु राष्ट्र कहते हैं। कांग्रेस जो कह रही है, इसका मतलब है कि कांग्रेस कर्नाटका को भारत से अलग मानती है। क्या आपको मंजूर है ये बात? आपको मंजूर है? ऐसा कहने वाली कांग्रेस को सजा करोगे नहीं करोगे? भाइयों बहनों, इसका मतलब है कि कांग्रेस खुलकर कर्नाटका को भारत से अलग करने की वकालत कर रही है। टुकड़े टुकड़े गैंग की बीमारी कांग्रेस में इतनी ऊपर तक पहुंच जाएगी, मैंने कभी सोचा तक नहीं था।
The Prime Minister also said that the Congress was scared and that's why they brought out Sonia Gandhi on the campaign trail, and she campaigned yesterday in Karnataka. Well, to talk more about the impact of the Prime Minister's campaign these last 3 days, we're joined now by Tom Vadakan, spokesperson BJP, Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson Congress, TMV Raghav, executive editor BQ Prime, and BS Arun, senior journalist. Thank you all for joining us. And Tom Vadakan, first to you. So the Prime Minister campaigning for the last 3 days, and are you hoping that this will really give the push that the BJP needs?
Well, the visual medias have shown the kind of reception the Prime Minister has received across Bengaluru and all over Karnataka. The reality, it's a candid camera does not lie. So for me to say as a BJP spokesman it was great is not what I would say. But yes, it was a visual display across the television media, across the country, of what kind of reception the Prime Minister received. And I'll stop my words on that. And, if there's another question, I can answer that. But let me tell you something. Or is it
that the BJP needed the Prime Minister to give it that tailwind these last 3 days, to give it that big push, given the way the Congress was attacking you?
I mean, unfortunately, the Congress does not need any enemies. I have known this party for quite some time.
Yes, we know.
They themselves destroy. They have a DNA which destroys themselves. Sonia Gandhi comes out and talks about sovereignty of Karnataka. God save her. She's sworn in by the constitution. She's a member of parliament and she has used that word. Then you had the current president of the Congress talking about Prime Minister being a poisonous snake. Then you had this Bajrang Dal issue, and that is in black and white in their manifesto. They don't really need enemies, They have developed this DNA to destroy themselves. I mean, this is just, I'm surprised. The kind of factionalism that is going on in the Congress, there's no waiting of any speech, there is no control. Manifesto carrying statements against the Bajrang Dal and these comparing it with the radical elements of PFI. I mean, these are issues, I think, which is very strange. And if they're digging their own grave, then they say that they are digging the Congress's grave, but they're actually digging their own grave. I'm sorry to say this.
All right, let me take that across to Aishwarya Mahadev. And Aishwarya, this Congress does seem to be on the back foot over its statements on the Bajrang Dal. They've done a U-turn. Mr. Kharge refused to answer a question on it.
Good evening, Gargi. I think Mr. Tom Vadakan would help himself and all his viewers if he actually read what the manifesto explicitly states about the Bajrang Dal, and it says any organization that creates any division in society, and gave these organizations as explanations, including his own minister in the BJP, Mr. Sindhya, has also very succinctly spoken about the Bajrang Dal's actual characteristics, and it's high and mighty of them to talk about this massive outrage when in Goa we know what the BJP did with the Sri Ram Sene. I think that is an issue that has been put to rest, but the BJP is clutching at straws because they have absolutely no other issue, which is why that they're trying to target on this in the manifesto. And I hope Mr. Tom does read what the manifesto says. But Gargi, what the Prime Minister has done today reeks of desperation of a losing election campaign. We saw the manner in which he bypassed all the state leadership. There is no state leadership to be seen because he wants to obviously move past them or try to get the state to not think about them. Because even today, all on Twitter, you don't see the state BJP leadership. It is about voting for Modi, apparently. And the second part of all of this is, it basically is that the BJP has lost the plot. His speech today is absolutely shameful and also rank with irony when you see what is happening in Manipur. Mrs. Gandhi basically spoke about the fact that the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of Karnataka as a state which we are very proud of as Kannadigas, is being threatened by these forces. And she had enough evidence. The Home Minister himself came and said, if Congress comes back to power, we will have riots. What else is that an indication of? Today you see their leadership saying that if you do not vote in the BJP, then you will not get the benefit of funds and schemes of the centre. And what other explanation do you have for their behaviour except for desperation and the fact that they're threatening the electorate at this point? It is very, very clear the BJP has no issue and agenda. They have nothing positive in their campaign, which is why they're trying to use the Prime Minister everywhere. And Gargi, I was in Bangalore during the roadshow. I think we've seen enough of the inconvenience that happened and also the people that did actually come out. So I think all of Karnataka and Kannadigas know what the status of the BJP is here, and it is a sinking ship that not even the Prime Minister...
All right. Well, Tom Vadakan, I'll just give you a minute to answer that. But before that, I'd like to go across to the journalists. And first, V. Raghav, your comments. What is your view of the Prime Minister's, mega campaigning that he's been doing these last 3 days? What does it mean for the BJP?
Well, I think ultimately we'll have to wait for the verdict to realize whether it's worked or not worked. So I guess we don't take a judgment call on that. But given the fact that it's true that the entire campaign has been focused around the Prime Minister, which is unlike in Karnataka, where in the past you've had regional leaders like Yediyurappa front the campaign. This time it's revolved around the Prime Minister and his image and the central leadership as well. One has to wait and see what impact it has. Obviously, in a place like Bangalore, it may have impact, but is it enough to really change the realities on the ground is something we'll have to wait and see.
That's right. And it is the Gujarat formula in a sense, because there as well, it's the Prime Minister who campaigned. Many, couldn't even name who the Chief Minister was, but it was the Prime Minister's face you saw, and something similar being tried here, it seems. B.S. Arun, your comments on that?
Well, the Prime Minister's roadshow had been pretty impressive, I must say that. At the same time, we should also not forget that it caused enormous problems for the people to move around. But then, over the last few days, it looks like, the advantage that the Congress had over the last few weeks sort of, one wonders whether it's been frittered away in the last 3-4 days. And on top of that, the Prime Minister going around the state as well as in Bangalore, to ensure that the BJP does much better than what it did last time. But then, as Raghav said, we have to wait. The thing is,
so why do you think the Congress has frittered away, the momentum that they had? If you could tell us, is it that the Bajrang Dal statements, other things?
Yeah, and
I think
something that could have been entirely avoidable. It's sort of giving the BJP on a platter the issues to espouse, and that have been picked up very well by the BJP. At the same time, we should not forget that continuing to harper on these issues might also hurt the Congress workers, Congress voters, and Congress has to be careful about these things,
I think,
yes, B. Raghav?
I think, Gargi, the real fact is that Karnataka has been extremely discerning when it comes to an assembly election vis-a-vis a parliamentary election. For instance, you take Bangalore, you got the 3 seats of Bangalore which are swept by the BJP in a parliamentary election. But when it comes to an assembly election, the Congress wins 15 in 2018 out of the 28 urban seats that are there in Bangalore. So, and this is true across the state. The JDS vote is much higher in an assembly election vis-a-vis a parliamentary election. So there has been a discerning factor. And as Arun points out, the Congress has tried to keep this entire campaign firmly local in terms of issues. And in the last minute, there seems to be a dilution of that focus. Turning it into a national narrative only plays into the hands of the BJP. And I think that even within the Congress, there are leaders who are aware of these decisions and what the impact of it could be, especially in a closely fought
That's why
election.
you had Veerappa Moily coming out and saying, no, we're not going to ban the Bajrang Dal. That's not what, So it just seemed like they took a U-turn. Mr. Kharge refused to answer a question from our reporter on it, why don't they make this a national issue? So, yes, it seems to be quite a mistake, and they blamed it on those who put the manifesto together. V. Raghav.
Well, yes, you may have a point there, but I think that's more a question to Aishwarya than to me.
No, definitely. I'm saying that the impact of that, the optics of that has been damaging for the Congress.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it dilutes the focus that the Congress had firmly on regional issues. The Congress started this campaign with a categorical focus that it's not going to get into a Rahul versus Modi battle. It's not going to go into a national narrative. It's going to keep the issues firmly local and focus on local level anti-incumbency. At the last minute, there is a sense that there is a dilution in that focus. Now, how it's going to play out in the electoral field, one has to wait and see.
All right. Tom Vadakan, your response to what Aishwarya was saying earlier, the fact that you've had the Prime Minister here for 3 days, that, we haven't seen any of the local leaders, and it's because she's saying that you don't have a very strong local leaders.
There's no cure for jaundice, Point is, when you are, your lenses are colored, you talk what you've scripted and given to you. The reality is on the ground. Gargi, you don't have to go and search for it. There's no search engine invented for all this. The reality is stark clear. She talks about Manipur. Go and check at Manipur what is happening. The government is in total control. And what was the situation? It was a court verdict that led to it. Do you know the root cause of what happened in Manipur? You sit here in Karnataka and talk about sovereignty of this country. You are part of the Tukde gang. Are you saying that Karnataka must go away from the national circuit? Is that what you are wanting? I never thought, and the Prime Minister was very right today to say the disease of Tukde gang is caught up with the leadership of the Congress party. Unfortunate indeed. I mean, these are statements coming from a person who has been the Congress president. And the word sovereignty is very clear. Dictionary meaning or Aishwarya meaning doesn't matter. Tom Vadakan doesn't matter. What matters is the word sovereign. And you come out in public and talk this way. What are you talking about?
All right, Aishwarya, you answer that as well as what both B.S. Arun and V. Raghav was talking about, dilution of the, the momentum that the Congress seemed to have, and now it's got caught up in all these controversies and, other issues.
Gargi, as a Congress spokesperson, for once I would really wish that the BJP made Tom Vadakan a star campaigner, especially in my state, because when he talks about ground reality, if he was at least campaigning here, he would know what the reality is in the 224 seats in my state. Unfortunately, that has not happened, and because I come from the state, because I have seen what the on-ground situation is, none of these national narratives are going to work, because the issue is firmly on the ground, on local issues of corruption. There is a 40% BJP commission sarkar that was run, which for a fact that the BJP is trying to play down, which is why they're bringing the pitch of national issues. And the second is that the Congress has these guarantees that has resonated massively with the masses. And, I will answer, Gargi, it was just simply this. The entire Bajrang Dal ordeal that, that they all want to talk about is that the BJP was bereft of issues, and then they took this. They went to the extent of equating a god to an organization that is known to create communal strife and divide, and there are several instances of that, and we think that's extremely shameful. The Congress even now is talking about local issues. This election is entirely that. And the BJP is trying to divert from that or try and bypass its state issues in order to make it a Modi election. Unfortunate for Mr. Modi that it may have worked in Gujarat because he comes from there. But today when he makes all these speeches in gusto, to his luck, especially when he made the speech in Nanjangud about sovereignty and Tukde gang, he should be lucky that the people of Nanjangud do not understand what he was saying in essence, because we're all Kannada speaking, because otherwise it would be quite embarrassing that a Prime Minister of a nation is speaking in such a way. The Congress is still going to poll on the issues of corruption, of price rise, the lack of administration, and the complete failure of governance in my state. The BJP has no response to it. So Mr. Tom Vadakan can try and talk down about it, but the reality is, does he have an answer for any of the problems? Does he have an answer for
yes,
the fact
you
that there
quickly
was no
respond to that?
governance for 4 years?
Can I answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
Gargi, this is very strange, Who's talking about corruption? The family that is out on bail on the National Herald case, they talk about corruption. And what is this corruption, this 40% campaign? One contractor who did not get the order went and wrote and said, look, I didn't get it because payments were made. Now the point here is, if somebody does not get the order and then he's naturally not happy with it and he goes to town about it, and then you call the entire party corrupt? Who is talking about corruption?
It wasn't just one, there were several. Let Aishwarya respond to that quickly, and then we'll, go into other issues as well. Yes, go ahead, Aishwarya.
Gargi, it's extremely shameful that Mr. Tom would like to dilute this issue. This way, it was not about one disgruntled contractor. It was an entire contractors association saying that we do not get work without a contract. And these are contractors, mind you, whose livelihood depends on government contracts. One. The second thing is you saw people, they talk about them being the custodians of the faith. You see Matadishas of Lingayat Mat saying we have to pay 30% commission to get our grants. You see the private schools association saying that even to get our RTE funds, we have to pay. You saw Mr. Vadakan, I did not interrupt you. You see Shashikala Anna Sahib Jolle, who is caught in scam for providing eggs for school children. You see scams in Goshalas. That you would make
all right, let's also talk about another, issue that suddenly emerged during this campaigning. And let me take this to B.S. Arun. B.S. Arun, the fact that the Prime Minister recently in one of his rallies spoke about the Kerala story, and right now you have, the BJP holding a special screening of it. You also had Minister Anurag Thakur talking about it in Karnataka. So, what do you make of this sudden, talk around this controversial film?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is something which is very informative. This is for the people.
Okay, I'll just come back to you, B.S. Arun, let Tom Vadakan answer.
Yes. Situation that this radicalized youth is leading this country to, and that is the reality. Why are you scared of a film?
The filmmakers themselves have conceded it is not 32,000 people, it is 3 instances.
But it's interesting to insert it right now and, talk about it.
Prime Minister is lying to the people about one of the states which he is Prime Minister for. Mr. Tom, if I'm not wrong, you seem to be from Kerala.
All right, let me get B.S. Arun to answer that. My question initially was to him on his, comments on this. Tom Vadakan, just a moment, let B.S. Arun answer. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, see. The BJP may have taken up this issue and raised it quite effectively. But then, will these transform into the votes? See, Karnataka is not Uttar Pradesh. There is no communalism here. At the most, it's the couple of the coastal districts and parts of Shimoga which resonate to the communal issues. Otherwise, Karnataka has not been, has not swayed by these kind of statements or issues. And we have seen it over and over again. And if you remember, last year, the hijab, halal, and these issues were very prominently espoused by BJP. But then, over the last 6 months, even BJP was not talking about it. This shows that, BJP didn't want to raise these topics. But of course, Congress gave it on a platter and it has become a huge issue. On the ground, I think it is the issues of price rise, corruption, infrastructure, and these are the issues than anything related to communalism. Well, BJP's vote share might increase, but I'm not sure if it will increase the seats of the BJP because of this factor.
All right. Veer Raghav, also the Prime Minister's attack against Sonia Gandhi and this whole thing about sovereignty. Do you think that is something that resonates? Because the Prime Minister spoke very angrily. If you saw that soundbite of his at the rally, he spoke very angrily about, what he claimed was suggested by Sonia Gandhi, this secessionist suggestion of hers.
Two things here. Just adding to what Arun very rightly pointed out, I think the communal argument or campaign is aimed at a very pocketed presence to strengthen the BJP in areas like coastal Karnataka, where these issues have a resonance. But otherwise, I think largely it's not been an overarching narrative in Karnataka. This personal attack, it's but to the BJP's advantage to turn these into to turn these as the narrative of the entire campaign, which is exactly what the Congress was trying to avoid all this while. We'll have to wait and see, Gargi. I think it's very difficult to judge the impact of these at this stage. I mean, perhaps post polls, but not at the moment.
All right, Tom Vadakan, what B.S. Arun was saying, that these sort of issues might work in Uttar Pradesh if you, bring up the Kerala story and, try to talk about, as a warning, but not something perhaps that may affect the voters in Karnataka?
This is not about influencing anybody.
Okay.
This is not about creating any polarization. There's enough of polarization already. They've started it with their manifesto. So we don't take any credit for the polarization that they're doing by a written manifesto. The reality is a film is being shown across the country and Karnataka is part of our country. No sovereignty has been declared as Aishwarya and her leadership decides. But the reality is there is something happening. There is certain radicalized youth, and the issue is addressed to isolate them across the country. This is not against the community. Let me very clearly say this is not against any community. There are radicalized youth who are misusing the situation that prevails in my state. And that is to be taken into control. You can't drive it under the carpet and say, well, everything is... There are two chief ministers, one from left, Congress Chief Minister Umman Chandi. He brought it out. And before that, the CPM Chief Minister, he also brought it out.
All right, well, I'm running out of time. Aishwarya, your comments on this?
Clearly, fact-checking doesn't seem to exist because for the fact that the filmmakers themselves, when hauled up by the court, where they had claimed 32,000 women had been radicalized and left, the filmmakers then came down to saying 3 people. And it is shameful that somebody that who talks about Achhe Din and Vikas and Amrit Kal, and I don't know what the new terminology is, does not talk about any of those things in Karnataka and tries to polarize. You see each one of their leaders trying to come and one-up each other. And when they talk about these radical elements in youth, I'll give you an example of a BJP candidate in Chitapur who has 40 plus cases against him. And for what? Besides murders and attempts to that, whatnot, it's for stealing rice meant for the PDS system and for milk meant for midday meals of children. And he was Gadipar in that case, and he cannot even go back to contest those elections there. And he also had a threat of taking the lives of Mallikarjun Kharge.
I have to let Tom Vadakan just respond to that very quickly, and I'm completely out of time. You just want to take that point that she raised?
I only have to say, please look at your candidates, how many are involved in murders, how many are involved in all kinds of actions.
All right, well, that's not the discussion here. It was about the Prime Minister's, last 3 days of his mega campaign, and we've seen it plastered across all the news channels, and we've seen the Prime Minister's roadshows in Bengaluru yesterday and today as well, and he's addressed rallies. So the question is, what impact will this have? Will it give BJP the tailwind ahead of the voting on the 10th? Thank you all for joining us on the program today.